Okay, class, let's finish up. We had done this earlier, and so I wanted to finish up with you all so you all can see how to do the rest. And we were doing going from one form to the next. Remember, I said you had the condensed form, and then we were going to expanded form. So let's finish up F real quick. Remember, we talked about root and everything. So this is how you have to look at this one. Pretend like this one thing right here is underneath, and that's raised to the first power, right? So when you go to write the root for this, remember you have to rewrite this from a radical to an exponential expression. Remember, when it's an exponential expression, that exponent is going to be a fraction. So remember, you take whatever this exponent is, put it over the root. So it's always exponent over the root. So when I write this, this is what it looks like. Okay, log base b. All of this underneath, x to the third, y to the fifth, all of that over z to the m raised to the, 1 over n. Okay? Let me erase this, okay? Now, like I said that to you in class earlier, right? Let me say it again. To rewrite a radical expression to an exponential expression. Remember, when you write a radical to an exponential, your exponent will be a fraction. You take this root, this exponent, put it over the root. Here, my root is n. That's where we get our exponent, okay? Now, let's apply the properties of logarithm, okay? Now, first thing, you can't get to this until you get rid of this exponent, because that's power rule that we got to do. Power rule says I take this exponent, put it in the front, and multiply it. That's what I got to do. Power rule. I got to take this exponent, put it in the front, okay? So power rule, let's do it, okay? So I'm now saying 1 over n times log, right, base b of x cubed y to the fifth, all that over z to the m, okay? That's what we get there. And if you want to, you can put it back in parentheses, but I just put it in parentheses to rewrite it from a radical to an exponential. Now, you all, 1 over n, that's still, we took care of that power. Now you all should see right here what I got to do. You all should see y'all got division. That's the first thing you need to break down is the division. Separate top and bottom. Let's do that. But you all, when you separate this, right, 1 over n is on the outside. This all has to be in parentheses, okay? So you're going to see me do that. So let's do it. 1 over n, log b, I'm put parentheses, log b, log base b, sorry. And I'm separate top and bottom, x cubed, y to the fifth, minus log b, right? X to the, not x, z to the m. Okay? Now, the next thing you all should see is, y'all should see multiplication right here. This is multiplication. So you need to get rid of multiplication. Well, not get rid of it. Break it down. Break this multiplication down. Let's do it. And to break multiplication down, remember, we fill it in with the addition. That still goes on the outside. Then we have log base b. We got to break this multiplication down. X cubed plus, that's how you break down multiplication. Log base b, y to the fifth. Guess what? And all we got to do is attach this part right here. Because we already broke that down. We just bring that down. Okay? Minus log base b of z to the m. Now, got to put that in parentheses, right? So you all should see one more rule. Y'all should see power. You couldn't get to the power just yet on this step. You couldn't. You got to break this down. You got to separate them. Because they got to be in each term in order for you to get rid of power. This has power rule. That power goes in the front here. This power go in the front here. This power should go in the front, okay? So we get then 1 over n raised to the, not 1 over n, not raised, excuse me, times, right? Now we move in this power, 3 times log base b of x plus 5 times, excuse me, log base b of y. And then look what we have here, minus m, because that's our exponent, log base b z. Now, for me, I could leave it like this if I wanted to, but you can do one more thing. And you got to be able to distribute this right here to each thing on the outside, right? So you're distributing it to, let me get a different color. You would distribute this to this, and then distribute this to the 5, and then this to the m. You're not distributing it to the log term, but what's on the outside that can multiply. So this one would be, right, final answer could be 3 over n log base b of x plus 5 over n log base b y, and then minus m over n log base b z. Okay, so this, because this after you distribute, this is what you get. But this works also if you didn't distribute out and you keep the parentheses. Okay, hope you all are okay with that. Okay, now let's go the other way. I'm giving you the long version, right? So just like I said here, we were going to expanded form. No, we're going to the condensed form here. This is condensed form. Okay, so it's already expanded out. We need to go to that one little short form, right? So let's go here, you all. Okay, so it says write each expression as a single logarithm, right? Versus you seeing separate. Okay, single logarithm with coefficient 1. Let's go. Remember, we got to keep the base every time we write it out. You all. Okay. And you can go in any particular order. You all should see this right here. When I highlight this, y'all should see addition. Rewrite this addition. That's the first thing I would do is rewrite the addition here. Okay. Rewrite addition. To rewrite addition means to go to multiplication. So these two things will be multiplied. This and this together. So I'm only taking care of that. I'll deal with the minus 2 in a little bit, but I'm going to take care of that first. Okay. So let's do it. Log base 3 of, we got x plus 2 times x, right? That's how we're going to write it. Because we're bringing those together, minus log base 3 of 2. Because we just wrote them together because that's what we took care of, right? We took care of the addition. Now, the next thing you all should see now is subtraction. And what rule is subtraction? Quotient rule. So that means we got to write these as division, okay? Because that's what it means. So I got to take this and write it expressing division. So whatever's first, that's the top. Whatever's the last, that's the bottom. So let's do it. Log base 3. We see what's at top, x plus 2 times x. All that over 2, because we got to express it as division. Okay? Well, we're now to a single logarithm statement. This is my final answer right here. Okay? Because there's nothing else we can do. Okay? Now, here, you all, B, part B. B, you all. A couple of things that we should see, right? Y'all should recognize, here, I got a number here and I got a number here. That's what you all should see. I got a number in front of my logarithm statement. And when there's a number in front of your logarithm statement, that lets you know that says power rule, right? So you're doing power rule in reverse. That's what you're doing. So now this goes back on the actual variable. This number is going to be the actual exponent for the variable, right? So I'm just showing you that, okay? So we have to apply power rule first. Let's do it. To each thing, log base A m squared, right? Because we're doing the reverse. Minus log base A n to the third. That's what we get. Now, look, we got to take care of this minus. And just like in the last problem when we did minus, what was it? It was division. So we got the same log base, but we got to write these as division, right? This is division and this. Remember, the first one is your top numerator. The second one is your denominator. So let's do it under one big logarithm statement. Log base A, m squared on top, over n cubed here. This is our final answer. Okay? The next one. The next one. Okay? Y'all see, you should see a lot of things here, right? You should see a lot here. Okay? You should be able to see a lot here. Once again, you should see a lot. I see addition, I see subtraction, I see numbers in the front of the log statement, which once again mean power, right? So the very first thing I'm attacking is this right here. Now see that right there? That's what that is exponents. Anytime you see that, that's the exponent right there. That's all that is. Okay? Now, that means this need to move and be an exponent to this. This need to be an exponent to this whole expression. So let's rewrite it. Log base B of m raised to the 1/2, right? Plus log base B raised to the 2 raised to the, and I'm putting in parentheses, 3/2. Okay? Minus log base B m squared n. Okay? Now, you all, we got to do it. Okay? Now, look at this. Once again, y'all see this right here, addition. What does addition means? Hope everybody see multiplication, right? Everybody see. Addition means multiplication. Okay. Now, you all, let's put that together. Let's put them together. We're going to put these together under addition. Under multiplication. Log base B, m raised to the 1/2, and then we're going to have 2 and raised to the 3/2. All of that minus log base B, m squared n. Okay? Next, right? Ready, next, you all. Now, next thing we're going to do is, let's go to the next one. We're going to do subtraction. And once again, we know what subtraction means. Division, right? So we're going to write it as expressing the division. All of this over this. So let's do that real quick. Log base B, m to the 1/2, 2 and to the 3/2. All of this over m squared n. Okay. Now, you're probably saying, well, Ms. Food, we got everything together, right? Look funny to y'all. Made look funny to y'all. Okay. Now, Let's gather this. Because now we got to come into play where we got these exponents, you all. We got these exponents, so we need to, gather this up, see how we can do these things, right? And apply, laws of exponents, do a couple of things for us, right? That's what we got to do, okay? This now becomes you all, right here. On the top, I'm going to separate everything. So let's go here. On top, I'm going to separate. 2 and means that this 3/2 applies to the 2 as well as the and. So I'm going to separate that part for you all. Let's do it. Log base b m to the 1/2 and then times 2 raised to the 3/2 times n raised to the 3/2. Okay, all that over n squared and, m squared n. Okay, I just wanted y'all to see that separated because y'all need to see those separated. Okay. Now, you all, we could do this, right? You need to now do the laws of exponents. That's what you got to do. Laws of exponent. And let me separate them individually. So you would do the laws of exponent for m, and then you would do the laws of exponent for and you all. You would do that. Law of exponent said when you divide and have the same base, you subtract the exponent. So that's really what you got to do now, right? Just everybody see that, right? Just trying to make sure everybody can see that right now, right? So that's what we're going to do for right now, you all. That's all we're doing right now, okay? So I'm going to go on the side of the paper. Let's do it. I'm going to say m raised to the 1/2 divided by m squared. Laws of exponents says because they have the same base, which is m, I subtract exponents. That's all it's saying, right? N to the 3/2 over n, same thing. Same base, I subtract exponents. That's what you're doing, right? So here, this gives me m raised to the 1/2 minus 4/2, which end up being m raised to the negative 3/2. That's what it is, okay? We come back to that. Here, I have 3 n raised to the, 3/2 minus 2 over 2, which is n raised to the 1/2, right? So just making sure everybody understand me, okay? So you all, when I have it written like this, negative, right? That means it needs to go to the bottom. That's all that means, okay? So let me write it like this first. So we got log base b. Look what I get. I'm going to put 2 in the front. 2 raised to the 3/2 in the front. Then I'm going to write it m raised to the negative 3/2. And then n raised to the 1/2. Right? That's how we can write it right now. But anytime you have a negative exponent, you need to flip it and put it at the bottom so it can be positive because we want positive. So I'm going to rewrite that. Log base b. 2 raised to the 3/2. I'm just keeping that right like that now. And anything that's positive exponents goes on top. Negative exponent goes to the bottom. And when it goes to the bottom, it becomes positive. Okay? Okay. Now, you all, do you all see that I can pull out a 1/2 out of each one of these bases, like the exponents? I can pull out 1/2 from each one of the exponents, just the exponent part right now. Y'all with me? So I can rewrite it as log base b, and I can say 2 raised to the 3rd because I can only pull out 1/2. N would be to itself because if I'm pulling out 1/2, and then it'll be m to the 3rd here because I'm pulling out 1/2, right? That's what I'm talking about, pulling out 1/2. I can factor out that 1/2 out of all the exponents. That's what I mean. So now, you all, look, 2 to the 3rd, let's figure out what that is. Isn't that 8? That's 8n over m cubed, all of this raised to the 1/2. Okay, because I can't forget the 1/2. That's still part of it. You all, The very last thing is they don't want 1/2 as a fraction. They don't want that. Convert that. Remember we talked about when we convert from radical to this? You got to turn that back to a radical. So it got to be log base b. Remember 1/2 is the square root. That's what 1/2 is, square root. That's all 1/2 is, the square root. 8n over m cubed. This is our answer. Okay? I know it's like, gosh, we went through everything. But guess what? You have to remember laws of exponent. That comes back now. Okay? So I'm finished with this. I'm going to start back over with the last two.